order the May meeting of the Morrisville Planning and Zoning Board. If you'll join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Any changes to the agenda from staff?
No, Chairman, there are not.
Any changes? I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes, the agenda, please.
A motion to approve the agenda?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Has anyone seen the minutes? Are there any comments or changes? I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Those pass unanimously. Amy? So do we have any public comment tonight that is not pertaining to the business that's before us? Just general public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on. We can go ahead and start with the first item.
Okay. Can you all hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'll start over here. The applicant TGA King East Ridge Owners LLC requests a conditional zoning map amendment for the parcels located at 900 and 1000 Perimeter Park Drive. The subject parcels are approximately 8.45 acres collectively and are outlined in yellow before you. The properties are currently zoned corridor commercial, and the applicant is proposing to rezone to conditional office institutional. The current land uses are office and place of worship, and the proposed use would be research lab. The properties to the north and south of the subject parcels are zoned corridor commercial, and the property to the east is zoned industrial management, along with the properties on the west across Airport Boulevard are zoned corridor commercial as well. The 2021 land use plan designates the subject parcels as general commercial. Transportation factors. Dedication of land along the frontage of each parcel is required to widen Airport Boulevard, and payment in lieu of 150% of the cost of construction is required in accordance with Appendix C of the Comprehensive Transportation Plan. Here are the proposed conditions. There are 16 conditions. The first would be to the following uses would be prohibited as a primary use on the property, which would be congregate living facility, continuing care retirement community, dormitory, club or lodge, college or university, healthcare uses, and recreational uses. Condition number 2, no more than 4 loading platforms shall be allowed for each building. Condition number 3, in accordance with section 9.7.2 of the UDO, all non-conforming site features such as but not limited to parking and buffering shall be brought into compliance to the maximum extent practical if an application is filed for a building permit for remodeling of the structure on the site, and the cumulative cost of the remodeling over the past 5 years as shown on building permits exceed 50% of the current assessed value of the structure. The non-conforming site features shall be upgraded in conjunction with the remodeling. Condition 4, prior to the issuance of a building permit, the developer will dedicate right-of-way on Airport Boulevard. And condition number 5, payment in lieu will be required for road improvements on Airport Boulevard prior to the issuance of any building permit. Conditions 6 through 15 pertain to vehicular and pedestrian cross-access to adjacent parcels. And condition 16 clarifies that the future development of the properties will be in general conformance with the provided sketch plan. This is a sketch plan that has been provided by the applicant. You'll see before you Building 900 and Building 1000. Staff recommends approval of the requested zoning map amendment for the following 4 reasons. First, the proposed conditional office institutional zoning designation is compatible with the surrounding zoning districts. The requested amendment also allows for logical and orderly developmental patterns. Number 3, it provides a broad spectrum of local and regional employment that offers economic development opportunities. And 4, the rezoning is consistent with the vision of and goals of the land use plan to promote fiscally responsible development. This concludes my presentation, but let me know if you have any questions as well as the applicant is present.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
Does the applicant have any comments? Sure. If you just go up and state your name and address.
This one? It appears to be on.
Yeah.
Good evening, Chair Langston, Vice Chair Sack, members of the Planning and Zoning Board. My name is Nil Ghosh. I'm an attorney at the Morningstar Law Group at 700 West Main Street. Tonight I'm representing the owners of the property for this rezoning, which is King Street Properties. We also have with us Mr. Tim Skinder with King Street. I want to thank Ms. Johnson for her presentation, and I'll try not to be repetitive here, but I do think there are a few points that are worth noting. First of all, King Street Properties is the largest private owner and operator of life science real estate in the world. They have strong real estate holdings in all major research hubs in the U.S., including Boston, New York, Morrisville, and RTP generally, and San Francisco. I bring this up to you so you understand who the owner is. They do not just own the 2 parcels that are the subject of this rezoning. They own all of East Ridge, which is that east section of Perimeter Park. They own all of that. And I think that's important to understand because it helps frame more so the larger view of what they're trying to accomplish here. The rest of Perimeter Park, or East Ridge, is zoned IM, which allows for biomanufacturing, R&D, other types of manufacturing, pretty much everything. And they're not trying to add every one of those uses to these buildings, but as I mentioned, King Street primarily is a life sciences operator. So basically they are looking to allow kind of the least intense life science uses. And so we're talking about, essentially office, research lab. Of course, some other uses will also be allowed, but as compared to the current CC zoning, there really are only a handful of uses that this zoning would allow on the property, which are not already allowed. They are research lab, office park, and basically schools. I guess there also is a sports academy and bus station. The rezoning, on the other hand, eliminates some uses which currently are allowed on the property, like group living uses and healthcare uses. We tried to be thoughtful in limiting the negative externalities for a project like this. For example, we've limited the number of loading docks allowed for each building because this is not meant to be a warehouse or something like that, and we wanted to manage that. We also are providing right-of-way for future expansion of Airport Boulevard and paying 150% of the estimated cost of road improvements. As far as what you can expect on the site, the answer is not much will change. The intent here is not to tear those buildings down. You can see on the concept plan the buildings remain as is. Instead, the purpose of this is to repurpose them as they are for essentially to add some research lab and office space to complement the heavier life science uses in the rest of Perimeter Park And when viewed together, I think it's easy to see the cohesive plan King Street has in mind for the area. King Street is poised to renew this hub of innovation. So our team is available to answer any questions you may have. Thank you for your time tonight and hope to have your support.
Thank you. Do we have any members of the general public that wishes to comment on this? It doesn't appear we do, but I want to. Okay, so we do not. Okay, so any comments from the board? Tim, did you?
Seems to be good use.
Seems straightforward. Yep.
So I'm just, Ms. Johnson, it appears there's a pretty extensive list of conditions. So I'm assuming this comes from quite a bit of back and forth between staff and the applicant to come up with a list like this, correct?
Yes, and conditions, I think 6 through 15, all are in reference to.
Right. Yeah, I was reading through that, like, yeah, at home, it seems like they're dealing with some specifics of the property and everything, which is somewhat understandable.
Yes. So did you want me to kind of go over the conditions
Unless
or?
anyone has any questions about them, I mean,
I've got a few questions. Can
Okay.
you go back to the proposed conditions, please? Number 3 specifically. Yeah, I had to read this paragraph a couple of times. So my understanding is that if the cumulative costs of the remodeling over the past 5-year period do not exceed 50% of the current assessed value of the structure, they don't have to conform. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And when we talk about assessed value, is that like the town or the county's every 8-year assessment?
Yes.
Okay. It would seem to me that they're always going to exceed it because those assessments, in my experience, are always low. I mean, that's just a general comment, but, you know, would this paragraph also apply to a demolition and rebuild?
To a demolition and rebuild.
Yeah.
That would apply because it's technically new construction then, so it would have to comply with all current
Right.
codes.
Okay. There are several other parcels that you've identified, and all of them, I think, you identified what their use is, except for 1146. Is that approved for development at all, like the others are?
There is a proposed plan for an Element Hotel.
I'm sorry.
For an Element Hotel.
Okay. Okay. That's all I have right now. Thank you.
any other questions? Would anyone want to venture out and make a motion?
Before a motion, I just want to make a general comment, and if it opens up discussion, that's fine. You know, these parcels are zoned GC, general commercial. And in my opinion, if we keep, you know, approving applications for rezoning, then I think we're kind of diminishing the whole purpose of general commercial zoning. Because all of those other uses, institutional, industrial, office, they're far inferior to general commercial. And I'm just afraid that we're going to run out of land for general commercial areas, and it's going to harm our tax base.
Yeah, I tend to agree with what you said. And one of the things when I was trying to rationalize this plan with the availability of restaurants and things of that nature near this perimeter parkway area, especially on Airport Boulevard, there are not many options there, right? So people are going to drive, if not given, I don't know whether they are planning to have a cafeteria or not, but if not, people are going to drive to some other location, right? So that adds to some of our traffic congestion currently that we experience, right? So, but it's, I don't know how much to put weightage on this, especially where this property sits compared to another place.
No, I
That's
agree.
what I was weighing.
I mean, you know, obviously RTP is a natural place for this type of development, and I support it. I'm just, you know, a little worried about if we start doing all those, approving those applications for rezoning from GC to something else.
I mean, I think part of this is just the realization of what has developed there. I mean, and what is being used. I mean, that's pretty much all, you know, there's a couple of restaurants just down the street. There's Baby Moon Cafe, which has been there for over 20 years.
Right.
And, there's an Indian place, and then Mediterranean. I think it's Mediterranean now. And so there are some restaurants that are relatively close to this. But I mean, you know, it seems like
It
that
is.
hasn't really developed naturally, and I'm not sure that changing the zoning is
No,
going to make any difference.
I agree with you. I'm not saying that, right? I'm saying in that particular area now, this is now what, the 7th or 8th life sciences business that is looking for,
Seems to be in demand.
right? And there will be probably more as we go extend, you know, along the perimeter parkway, coming down to, you know, not Airport Boulevard, the Aviation Parkway, right? So commercial, now that we have real estate, you know, apartments in that area as well, we just need to figure out a balance at some point. It may not be particular for this parcel, but at a later parcel, when we look at it, we have to critically examine the need for commercial development there.
I guess from my standpoint, I would say I see probably the restaurants underutilized, and then personally, having worked in life sciences, many of those people eat inside the buildings. I don't know if this particular property has a canteen or a cafeteria, but that's pretty typical within a laboratory setting that people don't leave during the day. But I think it's my personal opinion is looking at the properties, the inability to add sidewalks for the property that's there, it just made sense for something similar to that type of building. But I see your point as well.
Any other comments or questions? So is anyone willing to venture in?
Okay.
Well, I mean,
Town of Morrisville Planning and Zoning Board Statement of Plan Consistency and Reasonableness of Action Item 2023-192-0, Proposed Amendment of the Zoning Map for 901,000 Perimeter Park Drive, Resolution 22-0007. In accordance with North Carolina General Statute 160D-604, the Town of Morrisville Planning and Zoning Board finds the proposed zoning map amendment to be consistent with the Town of Morrisville's comprehensive plan and hereby recommends approval of Ordinance 2023-192-0 of the Morrisville Town Council, approving a zoning map amendment for 901,000 Perimeter Park Drive, located east of the intersection of Perimeter Park Drive and Airport Boulevard, from the Corridor Commercial Zoning District to the Conditional Office Institutional Zoning District. The proposed zoning map amendment is reasonable, consistent with the comprehensive plan, and in the public interest because, one, the proposed Conditional Office Institutional Zoning District is compatible with surrounding zoning districts. Two, the requested zoning map amendment would allow for development that is compatible with the developments in the surrounding area, thereby resulting in a logical and orderly development pattern. Three, provides a broad spectrum of local and regional employment that offers economic development opportunities. Four, the rezoning is consistent with the vision and goal of the land use plan of promoting fiscally responsible development. By strategically managing and promoting development that is fiscally responsible and reflects the needs of the residents, local business, and employers.
do we have a second?
Second?
Any discussion for you? All in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right. On to the planning newsletter.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman. Moving ahead in record speed. So just to go over some activity that has occurred over the last month, a new site plan application was submitted for a project known as Morrisville Gardens, and that consists of 4 detached single-family home lots on Barbie Road. The town council continues to discuss affordable housing with work sessions back on November 9th and March 28th. And we're continuing to work with HRNA to bring some additional information back to town council. Right now, they are focused on a down payment assistance program and developing a framework for that, as well as an incentive policy for affordable housing that could be used in discussions with developers when we are talking about conditional rezonings. But at this time, we are not moving forward with any of the UDO incentives that were previously presented to you and discussed by town council. At one of their recent meetings, town council did also approve a master sign plan for the Wake Tech campus. That's another application that you previously reviewed. And then under recent approvals, there are a few. Pet Paradise, which is an indoor veterinary clinic located along the McCrimmon Parkway corridor. The Discovery at Watkins, which is a life science development across from Wake Tech. And then another phase of the Spark development was approved. Did also want to touch base on the mural program, which was in those associated text amendments that was discussed by this board at your last meeting. We have made some revisions to the proposed text based on some of the discussion at that meeting, but that item is going forward to town council and will be considered by them on May 23rd. So a briefing and public hearing on May 23rd and then action anticipated in June. But that agenda should be published shortly if you want to take a look at any of the revised text. And that is all I have.
Thank you. We are to board comments. Josh?
Short and sweet.
The affordable housing thing, right? So I sent you an email with, I was listening to NPR while driving in the last week or so. There was a very interesting discussion around parking and its impact on affordable housing. There's this gentleman, Henry Garber. He makes an argument that the UDO and urban development policies that require a certain number of parking has led to big parcels that are occupied or empty for the most time, while giving little comparatively smaller property to build on. And as a result, it becomes expensive for builders to provision affordable housing or make the cost of the housing lower. Right? He also makes the argument that having these extensive parking requirements also means people tend to use less of public transport and contribute more to the traffic and pollution and others. So as we are discussing affordable housing within Morrisville, it behooves us to at least consider perhaps giving the developers a incentive of, if they are willing to provide affordable housing in lieu of reduced parking requirements. Now that could mean instead of getting 1 or 2 homes, that affordable housing programs, you could potentially get, maybe half a building to leverage.
And that
so
was
at
one of the
least
things we talked about.
Yeah, but I've sent the email and details to Michelle of this particular topic, and if it is something we can talk about or at least have the town think about or these consultants think about, is that a viable option? And if so, I don't know what the pros and cons are for the town, but at least to think through.
I think that was one of the options that was presented by the consultant and then discussed by PZB and town council, but also part of that discussion was the challenges of not having transit in place yet in some places.
And I think they were needing
Interested in
50%,
hearing
right? Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, just go ahead.
I mean, I think part of the thing was there was a 50% reduction, I think, before, isn't that what the consultants had brought forward before it would make any difference? And I think that sort of shaped that too.
50% reduction in parking, is that what they were asking?
Well, that's what the consultants had said would move the needle with developers.
So why
I-
not?
Maybe as a point of order, I mean, that wasn't on the agenda, maybe that's something for town council.
sure.
Or we, I mean, that's a big discussion to just.
No, yeah, I didn't mean it to be a discussion. I was just trying to,
A good point,
Put up-
but.
But yeah, Michelle is right. We, HR&A, we talked about that. And I don't know if we talked about it in the working session, but did we discuss it briefly? Yeah. But and before the working session. And I think it was, I mean, I definitely advocate for that. But I think, as Michelle mentioned, like they didn't want to do anything that impacts the UDO.
yeah, I mean, we can talk about it at the next meeting or wherever it makes sense. But it's always going to be a chicken versus egg problem, right?
Yeah.
And we need to figure out how do we march forward.
Christine?
Just related to that, one of the items that we're working on potentially for your June agenda, something like June or July, is that incentive zoning policy. Since that would be used by staff to negotiate conditions for rezonings, those conditions obviously have to be voluntary by state statute. But since they would kind of signal to the development community kind of that affordable housing is a priority and would be utilized, by staff in those discussions, we are planning on bringing that forward to the PZB so you can have a chance to look at it and provide input before it goes to town council as well. And that policy may get into some of the items that there might not have necessarily been comfort with crafting text amendments for, but still having discussions about.
I'm going to sadly miss the June meeting, but for the July meeting, if you could put it on the agenda, I would love to contribute.
Any comments, Christine?
Just the presentation was great. Thank you, Brittany. No questions means that we understood everything and we went through all the notes, so don't take that as a bad sign. We do spend a lot of time at home before we come in to go through all of the details, so thank you. That was a good presentation.
Agreed. Ken?
No comments.
Ted?
Just a quick follow-up on the affordable housing, the piece on the potential down payment program. Is there like a next step or update that will be provided? You may have mentioned, I might have missed it, when that would be provided as like an update on where things stand with that.
So at this point, we're planning on bringing that back to town council only.
Okay.
It's looking like one of their July meetings, but that is not set at this point. The town council did provide direction to move forward crafting a framework for down payment assistance for single family.
Thanks.
So that would include townhomes and detached single family.
I echo the presentation. It was very detailed, and so it was nice to read through. Thank you. I guess that's it. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
2 seconds. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone.